Just elected Donald Trump as president. They're slapping we the people in the face. They're saying we're going to make this difficult on your new president-electee. We don't like him. We liked it the way we had it. John Brennan is a Muslim and an Islamist sympathizer. He defends jihad as a legitimate tenet of Islam. That's dangerous to the United States of America. To have Islamic sympathizers in our intelligence community, to have people trying to diminish and make diminutive the powers of our new executive. Give me a break. This is some serious stuff going on, trying to undermine this beautiful American republic. Yes, John Locke, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, George Washington, John Adams, and the whole crew can go ahead and roll over in their graves up there in New England and Virginia. I mean, it's really sad that our country's come to this, where we actually have people in the CIA. Of course, they're known to be corrupt. They've lied so many times. You can't trust a word coming out of a CIA officer's mouth. They're liars from the beginning. So I'm just going to analyze this John Brennan for a little bit. He gave an interview to Chris Wallace. Thankfully, we can see his bull, live and in color here. And I'm just going to give you some color commentary on it, the way I see it at Inspo News. I mean, frankly, I'm just going to tell you like it is. And if I don't, I'm just going to turn this channel off. And it's a new channel, and we're getting people that really want raw truth. They want good journalism. They want, like, the stuff we get from WikiLeaks, the stuff we are willing to report that are sometimes months or at least weeks before the standard establishment press will say, well, okay, maybe we should air this. Obviously, alternative news has got it out there first. During Brennan's reign, more Christians were persecuted and martyred in the Middle East than at any other time since the time of Jesus 2,000 years ago. But I am concerned about how this could impact our national security decisions, and even due to the fact that Trump has said he will defend Jews and Christians around the world, how that might have inflamed some Islamic passion. So let's get into the interview. Good old John Brennan, here we go.
And Mr. Brennan, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Good morning, Chris.
President-elect Trump has made it clear, as we've just discussed, that he believes that the intelligence community put out information about this unverified dossier in order to undercut him. Here's what he said at his press conference.
I think it was disgraceful that the intelligence agencies allowed any information that turned out to be so false and fake out. I think it's a disgrace. And I say that, and that's something that Nazi Germany would have done and did do.
Mr. Brennan, your response.
Well, I think as the Director of National Intelligence said in his statement, this is information that's been out there circulating for many months. So it's not a question of the intelligence community leaking or releasing this information. It was already out there. But I must tell you,
it hadn't been reported on, and one of the reasons it hadn't is because it hadn't been verified, and when you briefed the president on it, you collectively briefed the president on it, President-elect, that made it news.
well, nothing has been verified.
One of the questions, though, is whether the intelligence community is going after or somehow is trying to undercut by selective leaks the new president-elect. Let me just ask my question, because former top intelligence officials have been bashing Mr. Trump for months, and I want to put a couple of these on the screen. Former acting CIA Director Mike Morrell wrote, "In the intelligence business, we would say Mr. Putin had recruited Mr. Trump as an unwitting agent of the Russian Federation." And then former CIA Director Michael Hayden said he preferred a different term. That's the useful fool, some naive, manipulated by Moscow, secretly held in contempt, but whose blind support is happily accepted and exploited. Can you understand, given that, and given all these leaks that have been coming out for months, that why the president-elect would think the intelligence community had it in for him?
Okay, let's stop the interview right there for a moment. Let me just say this. You can look at his body language, his shifty eyes, the shame on his face. Everything about this guy reeks. Even his nonverbal communication screams, "I am a liar." Okay, but he's the sitting CIA director. He's supposed to be protecting this country. He's supposed to be gathering intelligence, not stupidity and lies. He's supposed to be gathering intelligence, information on what our enemies are up to and what they're planning and what's going on in North Korea and China and Russia. I mean, we got problems in the South Sea. We got problems with North Korea. We got problems with them tipping a nuclear missile, sending it over here to the mainland United States. We've got major issues with ISIS and infiltrators coming in with his Muslim brothers. He's Islamist. He's a pro-Islamist. He wants these dangerous Syrian Muslim refugees in our country. We've got major issues with this guy. And this guy is concerned about spending most of his effort and energy humiliating and trying to delegitimize Donald Trump's election, slapping the American voter, poking us in the eye with his lies and deception. This man's a traitor, and he's disgusting. I mean, listen to the drumbeat of this guy here. He's just taking the marching orders from the NWO, New World Order globalists, you know, the George Soroses, the DNC, Hillary Clinton, Obama, all those lieutenants. And he's just marching to the beat of globalism. This guy wants these dangerous Syrian refugees in this country because he's an Islamist. Most globalists are pro-Islam. There's this weird alliance of left-wing trash with fundamental Islamists. They've joined together to destroy Western civilization. And of course, the NWO people in the end think they're going to destroy the Muslims, but guess what, folks? It's going to backfire. The Muslims will end up destroying them and will be in this world caliphate, theocratic, medieval, tyrannical regime. And this nutty Islamist guy that runs our CIA, that runs our intelligence, that's supposed to be gathering information and preemptively making decisions to help us protect this country, advising the president. This guy's spending all his time and energy trying to humiliate, delegitimize, and disenfranchise Donald Trump and the American voters. It's disgusting. It needs to stop. This man needs to be held in contempt. He has contempt for our Constitution, contempt for Christians and Jews, contempt for everything that's pure in America. And can you imagine a former general and director of the CIA, Michael Hayden, calling Trump a useful idiot of the Russians who's being exploited while they toast champagne over there or drink Kyrilka? I mean, who the heck is Michael Hayden? That little bald-headed wuss, little pro-Islamist coward who calls himself a general, NWO traitor? The military's loaded with people like that. Now, I'm thinking General Mattis probably will listen to Trump and won't take this harsh and dangerous hardline toward Russia, further isolating them and making the mother bear more desperate when they don't need to. All of this is this NWO stuff. I hope Mattis can extricate himself from all that, because it starts at West Point and the Air Force Academy and the Naval Academy. They train these kids that the American Constitution's evolving. We're now a global community. We have global concerns. We're transnationalists. We need to start thinking transnationally. We need to nation build. We need to build a better world. And all this leads to is what we saw in the Middle East: death, carnage. And then in that power vacuum, all these Christian groups, these Jews and Yazidis, these denominations were destroyed and slaughtered by ISIS. There was no plan to protect these people. That was reckless. Even Putin admits that. What he calls the Christian sects, Jews and Yazidis, were not properly protected. There was no plan. There were no cities of refuge. There were no safe zones. There was nothing for these people. What a bunch of idiots this last administration was. Vladimir Putin was raised Russian Orthodox. He has respect for Christianity, more than our government. He was concerned about it. He met with Netanyahu on it. He tried to talk to our president, who shunned him, who's a Muslim jihadist, Barack Obama. Of course he's not going to talk to Putin. He wants the Christians dead. That's what every Muslim wants: Christians and Jews dead. The Quran and the Hadiths and the Sunnis calls us Jewish pigs and Christian apes. What do you think they want? They turned their back on the screaming mothers and children being raped and murdered over there, while ISIS just had a field day for the last 8 years. My God, who could watch that carnage? Why didn't we send Delta Force in there to protect our people in Benghazi and protect those poor Christians in Mosul and around Iraq and Syria? And look at the terrible carnage in Aleppo. And that was all caused by Obama and Hillary. All you left-wing Hollywood people that are so into Aleppo, your people, the people you're the fans of, caused all this carnage by pulling out our troops, pulling out law and order, allowing this vacuum to be filled by these horrible anarchist terrorist Islamists who took over billions of dollars of U.S. munitions and equipment and began using that to totally rape, pillage, and kill everybody that didn't agree with them, including moderate Muslims. Thank you. You stupid left-wing Follywood idiots. When you got creepy chumps, American leaders like Mike Morrell and Michael Hayden in the inside, and this John Brennan creep, look at him. He's atrocious. This man's an evil man. You can tell by looking at him. He's a sinister, deceptive, seedy guy. You want him being your grandfather? I wouldn't trust my grandchildren with that guy. He's nothing but an un-American, unpatriotic, treasonous Islamic sympathizer, and it's sad. Bottom line, they circulate a phony dossier provided by Christopher Steele, a former Brit spy of Russia, and Putin laughed at that, saying there's no such thing as a former spy. This guy's an EU liberal left-wing guy from Britain, this Christopher Steele, a little EU punk who wants one world order, who hates Trump because he's a nationalist, and this Christopher Steele is getting this bad information out to slander Donald Trump. And our intelligence community knows it's fake news, knows it's fake. CNN knows it's fake. So what does CNN and BuzzFeed and, the CIA director do? Let it out all over the news. Call a big news conference based on a stupid, innuendoed, 2-page memo. It's not even a dossier. And they make this big news story over, all for one reason: to delegitimize the national franchise of Donald Trump, to bring jobs, to secure our borders, to make America great again. These guys are stinking, rotten transnationalists, jealous people who hate nationalist patriots. I've told you, this is nationalism versus globalism, and you're seeing it in a micro sense, even in the CIA debacle.
So there is no interest in undermining the president-elect and the national security team that's coming in. It's our responsibility to make sure that they understand exactly the dangers that are on the world stage, so that as they decide on which policy courses they want to pursue, they have the full benefit of the expertise, the capability, the experience, and the intelligence that we have, so that they can make the best decisions for this country.
It's kind of insulting to Chris Wallace and the American public that's watching this Fox broadcast for you to just sit there and lie to our faces. like you really care about providing the best intelligence and security for this nation. Look what you did to the Middle East. Look what you've done to Europe. You wanted to bring Muslim refugees here.
Does the intelligence community have any information, I'm not talking about rumors, information about contacts between the Trump camp and associates of the Kremlin about discussions during the campaign about hacking the Democrats?
The intelligence community collects foreign intelligence on foreign parties, entities, or people. If in the course of our intelligence collection we pick up information related to U.S. persons or officials, which we refer to as incidental collection, we share that information with the appropriate authorities. In most instances, that's the FBI. And so if we did come into contact with that type of information, it would have been shared with the FBI, and we would make sure that our intelligence committees then were aware of it as well.
So is there such information?
As I said, if we came into, if we had that type of information, we would share it with the FBI.
I just have to say, that's not a denial, sir.
Well, I wouldn't confirm or deny something like that on your program, as much as I respect you, Chris.
Finally, you are ending 8 years of service as one of President Obama's top national security advisors, both in the White House and then also as CIA director. What, looking back on these 8 years, what is your greatest source of pride and what is your biggest regret?
The first source of pride being part of an administration that really has tried to advance the interests of peace and stability around the world at a very challenging time. Regrets, when I look at the situation in Syria, I think my heart and a lot of hearts bleed over what has happened to that beautiful country, and I regret that we were not able to find a way to arrest the growth of violence and bloodshed there, so that we could make sure that Syria is going to have a future for at least the next generation of Syrians, and that's the one area that I'm very regretful about.
Very briefly, is there a policy that you now believe, with hindsight, could have worked to stop the carnage and interrupted the Civil War?
Well, 2020 hindsight is always, quite clear. Looking back now over the last 6 years, the way some developments happened, the growth of ISIL didn't exist at the time. I think a lot of countries, including the United States, could have been more aggressive and proactive in terms of what we should have done to prevent the deterioration into there's so much bloodshed in Syria.
Director Brennan, thank you.
There are two categories of news. Let me take on the first one that has to do with us, CNN. At the beginning of the press conference, Sean Spicer, who's going to be the White House press secretary, suggested that both BuzzFeed and CNN published this dossier full of uncorroborated rumors. That's not true. That's false. CNN, no one has disputed that two-page dossier was in the presentation, and that two-page synopsis was in the presentation by the intelligence chiefs to President-elect Trump, to President Obama. We have been asking now for more than half a day, for several hours before we went with the story, for a comment from the Trump campaign. What I suspect we are seeing here is an attempt to discredit legitimate, responsible attempts to report on this incoming administration with irresponsible journalism that hurts us all, and the media going forward should keep that in mind. So that's one, just to get that out of the way.
You're referring specifically to BuzzFeed.
Yeah, it's irresponsible to put uncorroborated information on the internet.
Breaking news here from Inspa News. It has just been reported that the 400-pound man that Donald Trump referred to in his debate has been captured on video hacking, and this is a tape, we're not sure of the date, some months ago, but hacking into Hillary Clinton's bathroom server. I mean, it was just protected by a Gmail account. And according to WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, Podesta responded to a really low-end phishing scheme that a 14-year-old could have done and gave out his password to the phishing schemer. So, I mean, these people left themselves vulnerable. Why in the world they want to blame the Russians when the Russian intelligence agencies had nothing to do with it? Look, they're trying to get sanctions lifted off their nation. They don't want bad relationships with the United States. It was the United States that messed around with the government in Kiev and screwed up that whole situation with Crimea, threatening to cut off their navy from the Baltic and the Mediterranean Sea and their interests in the Middle East. There's no way that Russia was going to allow that to happen. They weren't motivated to invade Ukraine until the Hillary Clinton State Department and Obama started messing around in there with their nation-building NWO bullcrap, and then they tried to cut off Russia's economy. If they didn't have all that natural gas they were pumping into Ukraine and Eastern or New Europe and some of the Western Europe countries, I mean, gee whiz, they would be totally broke. I mean, this administration of Obama's tried to destroy them. And of course, they wouldn't want Donald Trump. I mean, why wouldn't they want Hillary Clinton to win? I mean, they pushed her around for 4 years when she was SOS, and they pushed Kerry and Obama around even more for 4 more years. I mean, they've had 8 years of pretty much doing whatever they wanted. And then, of course, Obama and Hillary and Kerry opened themselves up by, again, toying with the government in Kiev, like we'd want the Russians toying with the government in Montreal or something. Give me a break. They've been very tolerant of us. Yes, you got Putin so paranoid about losing his port in Crimea that he just nationalized it for their own national security in their region. They don't have the wherewithal, the infrastructure, or the money or military equipment to take over the world. The top Russian general told me that after a concert I performed at. He said, we don't have it. You know, we just want to maintain our region. We want to compete with the United States as a sports team. We don't want war with the United States. We love America.
Now, having said all this, why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer.
So here we go. Here is John Brennan, director of the CIA, and you can see he's a little concerned. His countenance looks down, his mouth turned down, he's blinking in the lights. He looks stressed out to me. He doesn't look very happy, and I wouldn't be happy either if for 8 years I did nothing but try to undermine America's prowess in the world, destroy the Middle East, leave a vacuum there for ISIS to fill, watch literally hundreds of thousands of Jews, Christians, and Yazidis get massacred and displaced, killed, their women raped, their children killed, their families killed, pastors torn out of churches and burned alive in front of their families, and then the entire congregation beheaded right there in the streets in Mosul. And for the first time in 2,000 years, there's no Christians anymore in Mosul. So, I mean, look at this guy. He's got a lot of guilt, obviously. He's not a happy man. He's got a lot of blood on his hands. He and Hillary and Obama and Kerry and all those godless, un-American traitors that ran this country for the last 8 years. And a lot of Christians, Jews, and Yazidis lost their lives in the Middle East for it. And those kids in the Paris Babylon concert hall, they lost their lives. Come on, let's look at the domino effect here. They caused that refugees crisis by withdrawing all of our troops, creating what they knew was a vacuum. They knew ISIS would take over $70 billion in U.S. military equipment. Give me a break. These guys are liars. He acts like he had nothing to do with the fall of Aleppo, with all the... Sure, Assad's a bad guy. He's a strong man. So wasn't Saddam Hussein. So wasn't Mubarak. So wasn't Gaddafi. So wasn't the former president of Yemen, etc. and nauseum. Their stupid Arab Spring was nothing but an Arab revolution of terrorism, Islamic terrorism. They supported and funded radical Islamic terrorism, which led to many deaths, which led to the furtherance of the ideology which emboldened the radicals. And Obama's got the gall to say that he's not for radical Islam? This is disgusting. This guy did almost as much damage working as a CIA director the past 8 years, not using proper intelligence, not protecting innocents, not protecting Jews, Christians, and Yazidis, giving them up over to Islamic terrorists, watching the greatest bloodletting since the time of Jesus Christ, where now you don't even have the Coptic Church in Egypt. Sure, they gave up Mubarak. Yeah, it was at least a stable society. The people over there were, playing chess and smoking their hookahs and gossiping on the streets and trading and market, selling melons and all that stuff, that goes on in Arabia. I love it. And it's a place tourists wanted to go. It's a very charming, beautiful area like Lebanon, old Lebanon, Egypt, beautiful places, totally in shambles. These kind of people, these elitists, ruined it. And many millions of innocents get killed when these New World Order, left-wing nuts, these tyrants like John Brennan, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, Obama, Hussein, Barack, Barry, Soetoro, whatever his name is, wherever his birth certificate's from, who knows who this guy was. But they messed the world up royally. Only the radical Islamic State of Iran with its crazy mullahs likes these people. They're the only ones that like Brennan and Kerry and Hillary and Obama and the whole rotten crew of traitors. The other countries don't like them. Saudi Arabia, the people in Yemen, the people in Egypt, the people in Libya. That whole place has been thrown into poverty, chaos, and bloodletting with radical Muslim groups going around, killing whoever they want, raping whoever they want. Thank you, Hillary, for your Arab Spring. Thank you, Morzai, and CAIR. That's capital C-A-I-R, like we care about America or Christians or Jews. Like we care about killing you and destroying your society, but we're going to practice taqiyya. We're going to lie to you and talk really smooth on Megyn Kelly's show and other Islamic sympathizers, where we will smoothly tell you we are a religion of peace. And no, Muhammad never said those things. These are Islamophobes that hate us for no reason. We are a beautiful religion. We have love and peace. Yeah, like pieces of human body. That's the kind of pieces you are. You're a religion of pieces, not peace. You can't get around the Quran, chapter 5, verse 33, and 9, verse 29. Read it. Anyone can read. Just take those two texts. There are many more. All you need is those two. It doesn't take 12 poisons to kill a person. 1 is sufficient. 2 is overkill. And those 2 are right there forever. The founder said, kill the infidel. Slay the Jewish, pagan, Christian ape wherever you find them, for God's sake. And then he said, if you leave the Islamic faith, this is how we keep your church membership going. If you leave our church, we're going to kill you. What is that? I'm Italiano. And even the mafia doesn't do that. They let some people out to get legitimate businesses, but not the Islamics. Oh my goodness. You leave their church, you talk about keeping your church membership. Those people don't lose many. Once they win you, once you're in, if you leave, you're a dead person, according to the Quran. No, I'm not saying all Muslims ascribe to that, all Muslims follow that, but those aren't really true Muslims. The fact is, the really true Muslims that live like Muhammad and Khalid, and those guys way back when in the 7th century, they lived violent, and they, kill people, they force Christians and Jews to pay a tax, or they kill them, whatever. That stuff, that's the stuff of original Islam. That's real Islam. So evidently, Donald Trump has now just handed pink slips to every single person, and I mean the career diplomats and career bureaucrats as well, that normally stay on with an administration to the next administration. Donald Trump is keeping his promise to the deplorables. He is cleaning the swamp. I mean, no president in recent memory has gone in to a new administration like this, and just after Christmas, thankfully, given all these left-wing sycophants of Obama pink slips. I mean, it's just very gratifying. Move your stuff out, get out. You don't have the best interests of this country in mind. You supported a virtual dictator, tyrant, guy who was trying to cause our country to be ruled in a New World Order situation with a transnationalist government, a guy that didn't want to secure our borders, a guy that wanted to import terror, a guy that allowed Christians and Jews to be killed all over the Middle East, sat back and watched it while he ate popcorn, and why people's heads were cut off, sweet Christian people, destabilized the strongmen allies we had there in the Middle East, again sat back, kicked his feet up, watched TV and ate popcorn, watching the slaughter of Christians and Jews and Yazidis across the Middle East, and yes, playing a lot of golf in the meantime. This is a war of civilizations. I know that Hillary Clinton and others have tried to downplay that, but in fact, it's been a war of civilizations since 630 AD. So who are they kidding? This is a pernicious ideology that wants to take over the world, and we as Americans need to stand up against it for freedom, tolerance, love for all. For not all nations are equal in their values. Not all nations ascribe to the same freedoms and liberties, Judeo-Christian principles that this country exceptionally stands for. Of America, and we do think we're exceptional, and we don't accept unity as the primary ethic in the world today, as the New World Order are pushing. We don't want unity at all costs. We love our nation, we love our freedom, we love our prosperity, we love our families, we love our Judeo-Christian heritage, and we love the freedom that free thinkers have a right to express themselves without fear of their lives. Yes, we love the liberties that this founding fathers gave us in this country. Our founding documents are beloved and sacred to us. And we will do whatever it takes to defend the Judeo-Christian principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, of freedom of religion, of freedom of speech, of all the liberties that we enjoy. We will defend them here at home and abroad, and we are not ashamed of what we stand for. And yes, our military is mighty, and we will send them forth as the teeth of freedom. They will defend the rights of Christians and Jews and Yazidis and all manners of people around the world to have the right of liberty and the pursuit of happiness. We will not falter. We will not fail. Eternally vigilant is America to defend freedom. Freedom. Freedom forever. Freedom from the whole world. We will defend it at all costs. Mark my words. We will not lay down for Islam, communism, Nazism, or any other tyrannical form of ideology that would come against the beauty and the majesty of our Constitution and Bill of Rights. Well, you're not dealing with soldiers proper here. You're dealing with mass murderers, serial killer terrorists who are religiously motivated to kill infidels in the name of Allah. This isn't about the Geneva Convention. This is about people's survival.
We're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day. Just you and me. We are the world. We are children. Let's go together. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me. Come on now, let me hear you. We are the world. We are the children. Start giving it. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me.
I'm all for unity, but not unity at all costs. Not unity at our precious freedoms and safety. I mean, there's no way you're going to ever make friends with this pernicious ideology of Islam. It's not going to happen. It's not allowable by the founders' own words. Look at what's happened to Sweden. Stockholm is in utter shambles. It's a travesty. And this is coming to our nation.
بل إن إخواننا ضحوا أموالهم وحتى أرواحهم فداء لهدف الوحيد. For there is no other path to victory except through sacrifice and jihad for the sake of Allah.
Swedes who disagree with that plan risk being labeled racist.
Sadly, our government, even our military, is now infiltrated with Muslim sympathizers and NWO globalists.
Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order can emerge, a new era, freer from the threat of terror, stronger in the pursuit of justice, and more secure in the quest for peace. An era in which the nations of the world, East and West, North and South, can prosper and live in harmony. 100 generations have searched for this elusive path to peace, while 1,000 wars raged across the span of human endeavor. And today that new world is struggling to be born. A world quite different from the one we've known. A world in which nations recognize the shared responsibility for freedom and justice. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founding. What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind.
And yes, every single one of his appointees and the career people, anyone associated with his government, Trump's just handing them all pink slips. Kudos, Donald Trump. Love you, man. Hey, here's a guy with backbone. I mean, he's going to put good, patriotic American people that are faithful and loyal to his cause in those positions. And I admire that. Oh, I know the liberals are all up in arms and the left-wingers are all saying how brutal he is. No president's ever done this. And I'm sure they're going to leave him some nasty notes on their computers, and they're going to leave some booby traps there in the White House, technically. Those nerds in there, those left-wing nerds that are CNBCites, Rachel Maddow's half-cousins, they're just going to tear that place up. I mean, those sour grape Obama people, those left-wing nuts, those sycophants, like the men-child they are, they're going to leave chewing gum stuck underneath every desk. They're going to probably slime up all the phones with jojoba oil or olive oil. They're going to do their little things that they're going to do, probably and put viruses on their computers with ugly little Donald Trump faces with them all painted in tangerine. I mean, give me a break. You know what they're going to do. They're not happy campers. They thought they had Hillary in there. And they were all jumping up and down like it was Christmas. Hillary's going to win all the polls. Frank Luntz, even the Fox progeny. I mean, all those never-Trumper Republicans, those guys, those idiots at, Bill Kristol's out. I mean, he resigned. He was so embarrassed. The National Review, the Standard. What a bunch of idiots. A bunch of smooth-talking, silversmith guys, don't have any backbone, always trying to parse their words, trying to look like they're erudite. Guys make me sick, by the way. Most of the Fox pundits are sickening. Now, I love Sean Hannity. What a great guy. You know, if he was my neighbor, I would count him as a brother. Sean Hannity loves the truth. Sean took a lot of heat from Megyn. Sean's ratings started to go up while hers plummeted. And I mean, what's Megyn going to do now, by the way? I mean, she's on NBC, the Nobody Cares channel. I mean, she's on the left-wing extreme left, like over there with Marx and Lenin and Soros and people like that and Alinsky. I mean, she's in good company with Rachel Maddow over there at the CNBC branch and that big, fat, lying left-wing wuss, Brian Williams. You know, similar to Hillary. They all got shot upon. I think with Hillary, she got handed a bouquet of flowers by a little kid when she got to the airport. But oh no, there was sniper fire. And here are these people that accuse Trump of bad news, fake news, wrong news. They're the original progenitors of it. I mean, they're the real thing. I mean, they're the real Coke. They're not some copycat Coca-Cola. They're the real thing. They know. They should know about criticizing people for fake news. They created it. Big liars. About everything that comes out of their mouths is a lie. And so they tried to discredit Trump with more fake news, with this Russian ruse thing that the Russians got him elected. And then they had these creeps like John Brennan and General Hayden, former CIA director, and these other idiots pile on. I mean, that Mike Morrell, just looking at him, he just makes him, he's so arrogant and so persnickety left-wing, goody two-shoes, globalist, New World Order looking. You just want to slap the guy. Mike Morrell, you know, what a punk. Yes, Donald Trump could be a Russian agent acting on behalf of the Russian Federation. And then you got Hayden saying, oh, yes, he's a useful idiot of Putin's. I mean, are these guys even American? Do they even respect the American people? Look at the pompous disregard they have for the people that voted Donald Trump into office. You know why we voted for Donald Trump, you idiots? We voted for Donald Trump because he got common sense. He wants truth. He wants to defend the Constitution. He wants to defend our borders. He wants to create jobs. He wants to be a friendly ally and a friendly adversary and a partner with Russia to solve the problems in the Middle East, the problems that you idiots created. You created the problem in the Ukraine by sending in people like John Kerry and Hillary and your CIA lying, deceptive operatives, the New World Order operatives, to go in there and disrupt the friendly pro-Russian government in Kiev. I mean, things weren't perfect there, but they were stable. Russia was paying Ukraine a pretty good rate, a rental rate, to lease the port there in Crimea. Everyone seemed to get along. I mean, you always had Russian nationalists mixed in on the east side of Ukraine, over there by Lugansk, and then, of course, the people by Moldova in the west. I mean, they speak Ukrainian, and they were never pro-Russian. They're more pro-NATO. But the country was basically at peace, and the Ukrainian had a good national identity. Their economy was doing well. They were importing a lot of fruits and vegetables from Israel. They were happy. The breadbasket of Europe is basically Ukraine. The farmers were doing well. Tourism was doing well. And yeah, there were some pockets of poverty and some problems in the rural areas, and there are in Russia. I mean, talk about Russia taking over the world. I mean, a Russian general told me after a concert, he said, Federico, can I ask you something? I said, what, sir? Do you think that it's fair that your country is allowed to have troops and missiles right on our borders? I mean, not 50 kilometers from us. What would you do if we put Russian troops on your Canadian, Mexican, and Cuban nations that are bordering your country or near your country? What would you do then? I said, we wouldn't tolerate it. He said, so who's more tolerant, the Russians or the Americans? I said, the Russians. I mean, it was logic. I have to admit to it. They don't want to invade Poland. They don't want that whole Cold War thing anymore. But they don't want to be isolated by the transnationalists and these internationalist wicked bankers and people like Obama and New World Order people in there trying to bankrupt their country, trying to give them a spanking like they're a child. You don't treat big nation states like that are armed to the teeth with nuclear weapons that can destroy the planet in a few seconds. You treat them with respect. You're a friendly adversary. You don't go messing around right on the soft underbelly of Mother Bear Russia and try to put in a pro-NATO government in Kiev. How stupid and arrogant is our CIA? Well, they're actually not stupid and arrogant. They're traitors. They wanted a war with Russia. They want a couple of American cities knocked out with nuclear weapons. They'd love to see Europe attacked by Russia. That way they could get their New World Order. Figure it out, folks. These are tyrannists. These people are tyrannical. They want tyranny. They think they know better than the rest of us. They're called elitists. They're in both parties. I mean, look at Paul Ryan's ambivalent behavior. What's that all about? He wants Islamic refugees. He loves this current pope who's called for the marriage of Chrislam and Christianity and Islam and calls it Chrislam. That's sick. Jesus' words will never agree with Muhammad's. And I guarantee you on that deal, the Christians will come up short. Christians better not join the Muslims. They'll be the first ones with their heads cut off. Look what they did to the Christians in Libya that went down to the work. They cut off those 80 precious men who had wives and children at home waiting for them to send money. And what do? They get paraded on a beach by ISIS and their heads chopped off. Give me a break, Hillary. You and Brennan and Kerry and Obama and scum like you left-wing trash traitors, are responsible for the death of hundreds of thousands of Christians. The unnecessary forced migration of refugees into Europe, which has wreaked havoc from Helsinki to London to Stockholm to Paris. to Madrid, to Rome. You can go throughout beautiful old Europe where we used to love to go, that now all of it looks in the cities like it's a slum in the middle of Cairo. You have destroyed Europe. You've destroyed our Western civilization. I'm serious about this. I don't think for one. One moment our government should spare any of these traitors. I think they deserve due process. They deserve to go before a jury. They deserve to be investigated. They deserve habeas corpus and whatever else the founding fathers have provided for high treason and crimes against the United States of America. God bless her. These people tried to destroy our lives, our children's lives, and went right up against Proverbs 13:22. I'm responsible to leave an inheritance for my children's children. That Obama wanted to steal farmers' property. He wanted to steal through inheritance taxes, federal inheritance tax, the right of our children to inherit our property. That foul, wicked tyrant destroyed our health system. That foul, wicked, left-wing communist tyrant who's an Islamist communist. I mean, can you imagine a worse combination than an Islamist communist? That's who we had as president, folks. I mean, we got rid of him and Hillary and Castro this year. God bless 2016. 3 major communists are gone. Well, that's it for tonight, folks. I'm glad Trump gave pink slips to all these people. I'm glad John Brennan and all these people are gone. But I think Lady Justice still has something to say about all this. And if Jeff Sessions in the Department of Justice and Trey Gowdy in the People's House of the U.S. Congress want to get really serious about it, want to get really serious about Lady Justice and about justice for all and making the laws fair for everybody and not just for a few who get favors and get by with murder, literally. I mean, look at those people that were killed by Hillary. Look at those people that just kind of, I don't know, young people, like 7 of them were killed last summer who were associated with Hillary Clinton. Really? That's coincidental? I don't think so. I don't think that's even in the realm of mathematical probability. I mean, look at how young they all were. They were in their late 20s, their early 50s, and they're all dead, women and men, because they were trying to blow the lid on some of the corruption of Hillary Clinton and the DNC. I mean, that Podesta's a Luciferian. I don't put anything past that guy. Look at him. I mean, they should cast him in a horror movie, a Friday the 13th. He could be the partner of Freddy. I mean, he's sinister. I mean, look at Brennan. I mean, Brennan, to me, looks like death warmed over. I mean, that guy looks like a Nazi SS guy. Yeah, Trump's right to say it. That's what Hitler used to do with his intelligence agencies. Put out disinformation and lies on political rivals. That's what you do if you're a Nazi or a tyrant. It doesn't matter if you're from the left wing or the right wing of it. All tyrants are the same. They want centralized government power. They're elitists who think they know more than the rest of us. They want to control energy resources, banking, money, information, assimilate all the information, know everything about you so they can control you. And that's what Obama's all about. Good riddance to him and every one of his staff. But again, I still think Lady Justice waits at the door with her blindfold on and her little balances and her sword, her Damocles sword of judgment. It's time, folks. Why don't you demand justice? Why don't you call Jeff Sessions? Call the executive branch of our government. Call Donald Trump. Why don't you call Trey Gowdy in the Congress? I'll leave you the phone numbers here. Why don't you demand justice on these people? You're the people. Power's in your hands, we the people. We're not a lynch mob. We want them to have due process. We want them to be judged before a federal judge or a jury of their choice. But by golly, let the truth come out. And stop this nonsense, listening to the placating, carefully speaking, parsed words, establishment press. I mean, the best of the establishment press is on Fox. The only guy you really have on there that's strong is Sean. You know, I love Tucker Carlson, but I'm sensing he's going to move to the center because he's at 9 o'clock. He'll still be good. I love Tucker. But, you're not going to get a lot of beef out of him. He's going to be more in the center of the road, and and that's what they want at 9 o'clock for their big audience. And Bill O'Reilly's going to be the same way. He's going to be kind of a quasi-conservative guy. But I mean, Sean's still going to tell you like it is. I mean, if Sean's willing to interview my friend Julian Assange, he's willing to interview anyone. I mean, our government wants Julian Assange dead. They want Eric Snowden dead. They want him executed. Now, I must say, Donald Trump even doesn't like Snowden. And I'm not entirely privy to what Snowden did or didn't do to hurt our national security. But I will say this. The good that came out of Snowden, even if he were to be arrested, he should think of himself as helping our system in some ways. Because he disclosed this vast conspiracy of assimilation of digital information to massive billion terabyte computer systems and server clouds that keep track of all of us, and surveillance. That's the key thing to all that, not just the information gathering, but the active surveillance they have through our computers, through our cell phones, through our television sets. They have an eye on you, dude. It's not, yes, we can, aka Obama. It's, yes, we scan. We scan you, we scan your children, we scan your pets. We scan your vacations. We scan your discount cards at Walmart. We know everything about you. We know how many cavities you have. We scan your dental records. Come on. This is tyranny, folks. It's setting way for the New World Order. If we don't get control and get an independent, people's body out of the Congress to hold the NSA and the CIA. I'm not as much worried about the FBI. Those guys are pretty patriotic over there. They're fighting the CIA half the time. I mean, those are two behemoth Leviathan intelligence agencies struggling for turf. And I prefer the Hoover gang over there. I prefer Comey over Brennan any day. I mean, Jim Comey got put in a rock in a hard place, but I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's a decent guy. I frankly feel sorry for the guy. He's being put between all of these political rivals, trying to not please people, but he's trying to not get his own butt fried. But Brennan, he's an Islamist traitor. He's a flat-out liar. The CIA's full of them. Trump needs to clean that whole snake pen out. What a snake pit. Clean it out, Donald. You ever been to a snake or an alligator farm? Ugh. All they do is poop on each other. That's all you smell. It stinks is horrible. I've been to an alligator farm. I've been to a snake pit. I'll never go back again. Oh, look at all the snakes. I mean, the stink. Look. It made me want to throw up. I didn't even want to eat for 2 days. And that's what it's like looking at the CIA. It's a snake pit. And it's not pro-American. It's pro its own agenda for the New World Order and for this transnationalist deal. People make me sick. John Brennan, please get out of Washington at best, and someone needs to go ahead and look into his situation as well. This is Federico Cardella, wishing you guys a great day. Glad you're listening to Inspo News. I'm not angry. I love everybody. I even love John Brennan and Hillary. But I'd love to see justice brought on them. I mean, I love them as people. I don't want any hurt to come to them as individuals. They got families and grandchildren and children. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. But when someone breaks the law and someone endangers the very fabric of our constitutional republic, folks, when they do it deliberately for greed or sell national security to a foreign power or lobbyist, that affects our lives. Those people need to go to jail. Signing off, Federico. Inspo News. God bless you.